The following is brought to you by Texas Financial Advisory.
Hi, this is Coach Pete, and if you've got questions about how to safely and properly allocate your investments, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Financial Safari.
Broadcasting from coast to coast, it's the Financial Safari with your host, Coach Pete D'Arruda. Coach Pete and his guests are some of the nation's top financial professionals. They make it their mission to guide investors through the treacherous jungle of the financial world, showing them how to grow, keep, and leave their money for their loved ones. So stick around and find out how to make it through the jungle of the financial world on the Financial Safari.
Coming up on today's show, we'll go on the air and step inside the radio booth with Coach Pete. Plus, Coffee with Coach, a special retirement discussion. And we'll check in with Coach's Conversation, financial talk with guests from around the country. It's all coming up today on the Financial Safari. And now, Coach and I on the air. Well, Coach, we got an email question from one of our viewers, Melody, the other day, and she has a fun question. I think we can have a good time with it. How in the world did 401ks get their name?
Yeah, that's a question a lot of people ask. I mean, hey, the Congress gets together and they say, we want to put together a program that'll help people save for retirement, and we're going to call it 401k.
Where did that come from?
I know. And when it was first invented, people said, what the heck, 401k? Is that like a new cereal out there or what? What is it? What it is in the tax code, you have all these different pages after pages, 80,000 or more pages in the tax code. And when Congress comes up with something new, they add it to the subsection of it's a financial thing, the 401k. So they go to subsection about the financial tax advantage products.
Right.
And the very next code line was code line number 401, subsection K.
Oh, so there's a 401k. There's a 401A, B, C.
That's right. So it's pretty funny. So 401k is the one that caught on, though,
okay.
And because it's so easy for companies to install, and technically it's easy for people to save in the 401k. Unfortunately, many people don't take advantage of the 401k, even though it's so readily available inside their plans. And one of the main reasons they are starting to figure out there could be up to 28 different hidden fees inside the 401k.
Oh, wow.
And so you wonder, and I see people a lot of times, they'll come into the office, we'll sit down, and we'll look at their 401k statements, and they'll say, I've been putting money in for years. It doesn't really seem to be growing that much. And the company matches sometimes, and sometimes they don't. A match in the 401k is when you put money in and your company adds money to that. If you have a company match and you're not putting money into your 401k, the only person you're hurting and cheating is yourself. You should always put money into your 401k up to what the company matches. Now, where I separate from a lot of other financial planners is I say that once you reach that point where you get your match and then you can't get any more match, I say go open up your own individual IRA or Roth IRA outside the plan, because then you know exactly what's going on. You can do a managed account. You can do your own stock trading with an account where it only costs you $7 or $8 a trade.
Sure.
So there's no reason to pile money in the 401k just because your neighbor said that's a good thing. But you should never leave money on the table. So if you have a match in a 401k and you're not putting money in, you're cheating yourself out of money, bro.
It doesn't always take money to make money is kind of what you're saying, right?
That's right. And so when we say 401k, the listener asked, or the viewer asked, how that code name got assigned. There's something called 403B as well. That's for school teachers and clergy and nonprofit employees, and that just happened to be when they came up with that rule. It's 403B.
And there's a lot of rules that go in between 401k and 403B.
Absolutely.
So the amount of complication that goes into the tax code, it's not surprising that there's also complications when it comes to understanding commissions and fees in these products as well.
Absolutely. And then there's something called 457, which enables you to buy some life insurance inside your 401k or your kind of tax qualified vehicle, buying life insurance with a pre-tax dollar. Not a bad thing.
Nope, not at all.
Yep.
So it's good information. Thank you for your question, Melody, and hopefully that helps you out a little bit. It's funny how things get their names sometimes, but it kind of leads you to believe that the rest of the financial world is going to be a little complicated to understand like that. Always good to have an advisor on your side to help you decipher these kinds of things.
Absolutely, Walt.
All right, folks, well, stay tuned. We've got more coming up on the Financial Safari today. We'll be right back after this.
Talk to one of our local experts, and we have a special offer for you on today's show. Call in the next 30 minutes, and we're going to custom design for you an easy-to-understand financial review that will indicate if you're in need of a full-blown financial plan. There's no obligation or cost for this initial review for all callers who have at least $200,000 saved for retirement. If you meet those qualifications, here's what you can expect. First, we'll run a fee report to help you untangle what it's costing you to work with your current planner or advisor. We'll show you how to protect your investments and keep more of your money in your accounts. Next, we'll perform a tax analysis to show you how you could possibly be reducing your taxes and increase your cash flow. And finally, we'll create a customized lifetime income plan using proven strategies and techniques that could turbocharge your retirement income. In short, we'll take the guesswork out of financial planning for you. So, for all callers who call in the next 30 minutes, a comprehensive financial review that we're offering with no obligation. Just call the number below right now.
It's time for another one of our favorite parts of the show, financial fact or fiction. Coach, here's today's fact or fiction question. When you need to invest safely, get out of stocks and into bonds. Fact or fiction?
Fiction, well.
Okay, why?
Yep. Well, I mean, bonds are nowhere near as safe as people think they are. They are safer by nature than some stocks, but there's some stocks that are pretty safe. There are some bonds that are pretty risky. You know, municipal bonds, we've always heard, have been exactly the place to go if you're looking for safe money, places to hide, or hide your money from the risk and now that kind of thing.
But that's been true for like the past, 10, 20 years, but maybe not the case now? Is that kind of the idea?
Well, a lot of municipalities are having trouble. I mean, you watch the news, they're spending more than they're making. They've promised a lot of money out for pensions for the former employees. I don't know where the money's going to come from. So they'll issue more bonds, but you can't keep, like our government keeps printing money, you can't keep printing money if there's nothing behind it. Same thing with the municipal bonds or regular bonds. And here's why we're worried. A lot of us are worried about bonds in general, because there's an inverse relationship usually between interest rates and bond rates.
Okay.
Now, where are interest rates right now?
On the floor.
Yeah. And bond rates aren't too much better, by the way.
Right.
But if interest rates start to go up, in theory, the bond rates go down even further. So people could be trapped in a bond for forever if it's worth a lot less than they pay for it. So you have to be very careful. Now, stocks. It's not just about buying stocks or bonds, by the way. It's about getting a real plan together. So many people out there just say, well, I'm going to do a diversified portfolio. I'm going to put some stocks, some bonds, and some cash in CDs or whatever, but they don't put a real plan together. Well, the number one thing people need to have is an income plan in place. Bonds used to be what people would use for income,
Sure.
give it a yield or a dividend. But now I like future income accounts sponsored by major insurance companies. Insurance companies for years have covered people when they pass away. Well, now they can cover you when you're living. You know, we spend a lot of time insuring our house, our car, our health, right? But we forget to insure the most important thing, our income. You can insure your income with an insurance company that can guarantee a lifetime of income if you get with the right one. It's called an income rider attachment for annuities. And I, like myself and for my family, fixed indexed annuities. I don't like variable annuities because the principal value can go up and down. So if you need the money in the future in a lump sum, it might not be there. Fixed index annuities, the principal is always going up. Now, there are early withdrawal penalties in any financial instrument, so you need to learn that, and you need to get an advisor who understands that. So the true fact is get a real plan put together, and then you can have some stocks, some bonds, some mutual funds, but also an income plan in place. That's what planning is, Walt. It's not just buying and selling based on what you see on the internet.
So getting out of stocks and into bonds, not necessarily safe.
Not necessarily. And today we have local attorney Zeke Bridges visiting us in the Financial Safari, and we're going to talk about a very complex topic. First of all, Zeke, thanks for coming in today.
Always a pleasure, Coach.
Now, let's talk about this because a lot of people are confused about this, and to be honest, I was too when I first started in the financial field, but 20-some years ago. What's the difference between a living will and a living trust? There's a big difference, isn't there?
There's a huge difference. Excellent question. They're completely two different vehicles, and they accomplish two different things.
So let's start with a living will, just to be. What is a living will? And most everyone has one of them if they have some kind of legal documents.
Well,
times,
yeah,
right?
if they've been to an estate planning attorney, hopefully the attorney has prepared them a living will in addition to their simple will or power of attorney. But a living will, I like to call it a DNR, a do not resuscitate document.
Okay.
And the North Carolina General Statutes provides for folks to have a living will, and some clients choose not to get one for religious objections or other reasons, but I always recommend that my clients get a living will.
So the living will, you're in control, though. So you select ahead of time what you want to happen if you end up in that situation.
Exactly.
We used to call it the pull the plug.
Yes,
right?
that's yes. I try not to use that term, but yes, that's it.
Pull the plug.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
But a living will, you're going to tell the doctors and the hospital exactly what you want to happen if you're in a medical situation where you can't make decisions for yourself and you don't want to put that guilt or that decision on your surviving spouse or your family members. Or the worst case is if you don't have a living will and your wife or your surviving spouse knows your decision and your family members don't, you can obviously have some quarrels and some fights there on pull the plug or don't pull the plug. So it's important to go and make that decision now while you can, and put the living will in a safe place where your family members know where it is.
Now, there's been recent court cases, though, unfortunately, where they haven't really stood up, though, the living will, even though you made your desires ahead of time. I've been reading that it might not ensure that your desires are met in the future.
That's why it's always important to go to a properly, estate planning attorney that knows what they're doing, that's highly recommended by either a financial advisor or someone they know at church or a civic group or at work. But you definitely need to look around. It needs to be prepared by someone that does estate planning full time and not, someone that does it on the side.
Okay, so that's a living will. Now, we only have about a minute left, but let's talk about a living trust. Now, a lot of people hear about living trusts. Matter of fact, there's a lot of seminars. Used to be a whole lot more. We called them trust mills.
Yes.
They would come to town and encourage you to come to a seminar. They'd scare you into doing a trust, which costs a lot of money.
Absolutely. A living trust can cost anywhere from $1,000,
on upwards.
On upwards. And it all depends, where you go to get one done. And it's only for folks that have substantial assets, I say.
Right.
And or their desire is to avoid probate. And if you don't meet those two criteria, chances are you probably don't need a living trust, but again, you need to go to a local attorney that you trust so you can explain, your situation, your financial situation, and your estate planning goals to him or her. And but a living trust is a good vehicle where you can accomplish a lot of tax savings and
could be a good fit if it's the right fit for you.
Exactly.
Right.
And a lot of folks out there have living trusts and they don't need them. And I'm sure there's folks out there that need living trusts and don't have them. I always say it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But that's only if you have the right assets.
Well, I saw Shaquille O'Neal's tennis shoes on TV one day. They were this big. It looked like a cool shoe to have, but it wouldn't be a good fit for me.
No,
right?
Me neither.
Same thing with the living trust, living will, even regular wills. It's all about what fits you. And if you're looking for something like that, if you want some information, meet with an attorney, maybe two attorneys, and see what they have to offer. And Zeke Bridges, thanks again for coming into the Financial Safari and sharing your great knowledge with us.
Always a pleasure, Coach.
Hi, this is Brooklynn, Chandler, Willy, President of Texas Financial Advisory. Thanks for watching the show today. If anything's piqued your interest and you'd like to come into one of our offices here in South or Central Texas, we'd love to have you come in for a free consultation to discuss your personal situation. Just give us a call at the number on the screen.
Balancing safety and risk in your portfolio is very important, and an easy way to do this is to use the rule of 100. Take your age and subtract it from 100. The remaining number is the maximum amount of money you should have at risk. So, for example, if you're 65, 100 minus 65 is 35. So you should have no more than 35% of your retirement funds at risk in things like stocks and bonds and other volatile investments. Like with almost any rule in the financial world, however, there are exceptions to the rule. For example, you may have a very low risk tolerance, meaning you don't like taking a lot of risk, and even having 35% of your money at risk, well, it keeps you up at night wondering about your investments, and all day long you're checking the market to see if you're losing or making money. In a case like that, you may need to have less money at risk so that you're more comfortable with your retirement plan. This is just a small example of why it's so important to get a customized plan that fits your specific situation and matches your goals and alleviates your worries in retirement.
And now it's time to visit with your local trusted advisor.
My name is Brooklynn, Chandler, Willy. I think I tailor-make all my plans for my clients. I don't cookie cutter anything. I get energized whenever I am meeting with someone that's within 5 years out from retiring because there's a lot we can do. I get a little panicky whenever they're about 1 month out from retirement and haven't done any planning, but we can still make it work. I also really like those clients that just retired, maybe didn't do any planning, and we need to put together a plan for them. I feel like those are the folks that I really help out a lot.
And folks, we're very lucky again, as we always do here in South Texas. We have Brooklynn, Chandler, Willy in studio. Brooklynn, welcome in.
Hey, thanks, Coach.
I wanted to talk about pension annuities. What is a pension annuity? why is there so much confusion out there around the annuity word? Just the word annuity draws cold sweats in a lot of people, and I see why, and you know why too. But let's talk about the bad annuities. What are bad annuities out there? Let's get the bad stuff out first, and then let's talk about if there are some good ones after you eliminate the bad ones.
Sure, just like in anything. I mean, think about how many types of cars there are out
Bunches.
there. Not everything is the best car, right? But a car is going to get you to where you need to go.
Right.
Well, if you're going to pick an annuity during retirement or even while you're still working, we want to make sure it's the proper one for you. So I think two that have given annuities a really bad word would be the immediate annuities, because in a way, yes, you've created income for your lifetime or for a set period, but you've lost control of that nest egg.
Yep.
You've committed annuicide, right?
And annuicide is basically not having control of your money anymore.
Yeah.
And people like control, and once you give it to the insurance company, in the form of an immediate annuity, you can't make changes anymore. It's in stone, basically.
It's just like, think about how Social Security is. You've racked up money there. You know, you don't really know how much money is there to your name. It could be 500,000, it could be $1 million. You don't know. But all you know is your monthly payments, which stop when you pass away. So the same thing. Yes, you're thankful for the monthly payments, but what if, you know, the economy changes, or what if new investment products come out on the landscape? You're stuck. Right? So I think that would be the first way. And then the other thing is, when you die, the company keeps your money, right? So, I mean, how do you gamble that? I mean, what if you only take a year's worth of withdrawals and the company has won at that point? They've kept several $100,000.
You have a couple secrets and ways around that, though. If you have an immediate annuity decision to make right now, Brooklyn could show you the right way to get into an immediate annuity, because there are some
that work.
And strategies, if they can fit a bucketing strategy. If you're trying to just get down 5 years further in your life, you can use an immediate annuity to give you 5 years worth of payments to let your other money grow.
Sure. And then, you know, not only that, you still haven't put all your money into that one bucket. You're just using it for the time being. But, you know, so yes, there's lots of options, but I think what gives it the bad name is the annuicide option of losing control of your money or dying prematurely and the company keeping it.
I love that term, well, I don't love it, but it's a creative name, annuicide. And it really is. You're killing your money if you put it all in immediate annuity with no rhyme or reason or strategy.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the other bad one.
I think the other one would be the variable annuities out there. And, you know, they became very popular in the 90s, early 2000s. And so a lot of folks have them because they thought that was a safe alternative to the stock market. So now what they're realizing is, after being in there for 5 or 10 years, that the fees that they have been paying is more than it's actually earned.
That's not good.
No. Or they have a death benefit of what they started with, but their actual account value, there's no way that it can get back up. So they're stuck there. And in turn, that became a very expensive life insurance policy, because they're just waiting to pass away to get that money back out.
You know what I say?
I don't know.
If you have to die to get your money back, it's not a good investment, because you're not going to get your money back, are you? And that's what happens with variable annuities. Folks, if you're trapped in a variable annuity, or think you are, or if you're making a decision right now, and the only decision seems to be to invest in a variable annuity, there are alternatives, and you owe it to yourself to give Brooklyn and her team a call at the number you see on your screen. Brooklyn, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Coach Pete.
Talk to one of our local experts, and we have a special offer for you on today's show. Call in the next 30 minutes, and we're going to custom design for you an easy-to-understand financial review that will indicate if you're in need of a full-blown financial plan. There's no obligation or cost for this initial review for all callers who have at least $200,000 saved for retirement. If you meet those qualifications, here's what you can expect. First, we'll run a fee report to help you untangle what it's costing you to work with your current planner or advisor. We'll show you how to protect your investments and keep more of your money in your accounts. Next, we'll perform a tax analysis to show you how you could possibly be reducing your taxes and increase your cash flow. And finally, we'll create a customized lifetime income plan using proven strategies and techniques that could turbocharge your retirement income. In short, we'll take the guesswork out of financial planning for you. So, for all callers who call in the next 30 minutes, a comprehensive financial review that we're offering with no obligation. Just call the number below right now.
It is now time for Pete on the Street.
Pete on the street.
Let's see what this person has to say.
Pete on the street. Pete on the Street, and today we're with Bud. And Bud, we're going to ask you a couple questions here. Number one is, what's the most pressing thing you've gone through here in retirement?
Well, the stock market fallen. I've lost 50% of my retirement.
And how have you felt about your current advisor? Has he or she been in touch with you on a regular basis to make sure that you were informed about what was going on in the stock market?
No, I went down to my advisor several times, and all he said was, keep your money in the stock market. It's going to go up, and I hate to see you lose the money. When it goes up, you won't be making any money. Stay the course.
How'd that make you feel?
At the time, the stock market was starting to fall, and so I just took his word for it. I don't know anything about stocks and bonds.
And how big of a hit did you take by taking that non-advice, basically?
At least $40,000, 50%.
It's time for an annuity breakdown. Start with a $200,000 investment. With a 2% return over 10 years, you'll have $240,000. But compare that to the effects of a hybrid annuity that can get you a 7% return for the purpose of a lifetime income. Over 10 years, your account value would double to $400,000, yielding you a lifetime income of $24,000 every year the rest of your life. With this kind of strategy, you'll never again have to worry about the whims of the market. That's just one example of the annuity breakdown. And now, Coach's Conversation.
Wow, folks, it's been a fast-moving week on the TV side as far as the interviews we've done with authors and famous people throughout the world. Let's take a look at some of those highlights from this week's show. The name of the book is Fairy Tales, Fables, and Facts About Investing and How to Know What's What. His name is Steve Holland. Steve, welcome in.
Well, thanks so much, Coach. It's great to be here with talking about my book.
Here's a question. What caused you to write the book, and are you satisfied with the finished results?
Well, yeah, I really am. I'm satisfied with the results.
Anyone who's had children, parents or grandparents, remember the thrill it is or was reading to the child before they went to bed. And a lot of them were fairy tales and fables. And you talk about how you used to love reading to your daughters before they go to bed at night.
Oh, yeah. That's just such a great memory. And I think of my dad all the time when I look at the picture that's on the back of the book, because my dad always used to say, hey, Steve, enjoy your kids because they're just visitors. Before you know it, they're going to be grown and gone. And, my daughters now are 24, 25, and they're doing quite well. But, yeah, I look back at those times, and they're just absolutely precious. And, of course, I cherish and miss them.
Let's talk about some of the financial fairy tales that exist today. And by the way, Steve, I really love the content of the book and the way it's set up. It makes it a very easy read, and it's about 150 pages, but it is so easy to get through. And I've talked to a couple people who've read it in the office, and they admit they've learned something from the book.
Sure, you bet. I think one of my favorite one is the wizard who could time the market with magic stock trades. Because this is such a bunch of nonsense. And, Coach, there's a couple radio shows here in Tampa Bay now that talk about market timing and an algorithm and buying the right stocks at the right time. Well, you know what? If someone really knew that, why would they be on the radio telling everyone else, first of all? But in 25 years, I've seen so much of this. I've heard of so many different philosophies of timing the market and picking certain stocks at certain times. And the bottom line is, if you want to grow your wealth, you've got to be very, very careful. You've got to be very well diversified. You've got to work with a true seasoned advisor that knows what they're doing, and you got to communicate with them often to make sure that you're on track.
One of my memories from childhood was Dave Kingman. He was a slugger for the New York Mets, and boy, when he got a hold of a ball, he would almost knock it out of the park. Really. I mean, out of the ballpark, not over the fence, but out of the ballpark. But the problem was Dave Kingman, when he did lead the league in home runs, guess what else he led the league in?
Probably strikeouts.
Strikeouts, that's right. So when we're talking about financial portfolios that are planning for retirement, in other words, money you're going to need to and through retirement, you can't afford to strike out, can you?
No, you certainly can't, because we all have this precious commodity that we lose a little bit of every single day, and that, of course, is time. So if you're 55 years old, 60 years old, you can't take the risk in the market that you took when you were 30, 35. And risk comes in many different forms. You can't sit in cash either, because you'll go broke safely, as we often say. So you really, again, getting back to that word that you and I probably say about 150 times a week, getting back to that word plan. You've got to have a plan, and you've got to implement the plan with someone that is experienced and knows what they're doing.
One of the big lessons from the book that I got is the case for hiring a financial coach, someone to make sure you're not striking out, and if they see a flaw in what you're doing, pointing it out to you so you're not making the same mistakes over and over again. Well, it's often been said that a day that you learn something is not a wasted day. And you talk about your dedication in your book to your mother and how much she taught you back in the day.
Oh, yeah, priceless lessons. My mom was born in the late 20s, and she was one of 11 kids who was raised on a farm in upstate New York. And, to this day, I've never, ever heard my mom curse. I've never heard her talk bad about anyone else. And she taught me some really valuable lessons about helping other people and always trying to do the right thing. And I mentioned that in the book in a segment. And I think that's really important because, Coach, in the end, that's what we all do for a living. We're trying to help people accomplish something that they can't really do effectively on their own.
It's a fascinating book. Folks, again, the title, Fairy Tales, Fables, and Facts About Investing. Steve, it's a fascinating book. Great job.
Okay, thanks so much, Coach.
And folks, we'll be right back after this.
Hi, this is Brooklynn, Chandler, Willy, President of Texas Financial Advisory. Thanks for watching the show today. If anything's piqued your interest and you'd like to come into one of our offices here in South or Central Texas, we'd love to have you come in for a free consultation to discuss your personal situation. Just give us a call at the number on the screen.
Information provided is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Neither Peter J. Deruta or his guests are liable for the usage of information discussed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken.